am Dr. Divya, Registrar in the Department of Pediatrics, Dr. S. Palasubramanian Sir Unit, HOD of Pediatrics, Child Trust Hospital, Chennai. I am here to present the details of an adolescent girl with backache. 12 years old, previously well and developmentally normal adolescent girl presented with complaints of back pain for the past 6 weeks, increasing in intensity for the past 2 weeks. It was confined mainly to the middle of her back. She had significant nocturnal pain and had restriction of movements in the form of not able to squat or bend forward. There was no history of fever or cough, history of documented weight loss around 1 kg noticed in the past 1 month, which comes to around 2.5%. There is no history of contact with TB, no history of trauma, no history of pain or swelling noted elsewhere in the body. For the above complaints, she was evaluated outside, where a whole body MRI was done, which showed altered marrow signals involving the D9 vertebra associated with compression in the vertebral body height. It also showed altered marrow signals in the mid-manubrium sterni, sacroiliac joints, acetabulum, and both sacroiliac joints and greater trochanters of both femur and proximal shaft of left femur. She also underwent a PET-CT whole body, which showed compression of the D9 vertebra associated with reduction in the vertebral height and also increased uptake in the PET-CT. The final report of PET-CT was hypermetabolic compression of the D9 vertebral body with thin ring of adjacent soft tissue and hypermetabolic bone erosions noted in the posterior-superior aspect of right acetabulum and left rib. She was referred to us for further evaluation and management. On examination in a hospital, she had gibbous in the mid-dorsal spine with no kyphosis or scoliosis. Tenderness was present in the dorsal spine. She was not able to bend forward and touch down the feet. There were no focal neurological deficits. Her gait was normal. There was no pallor, lymphadenopathy, or skin rash, and no other joint involvement. Systemic examination was normal. So, a 12-year-old girl with chronic backache and presence of lytic lesions in the MRI, the differential diagnosis we had at this point of time were tuberculosis, infectious osteomyelitis, and malignancy, being LCH, leukemia, or bone tumors. She was admitted for further evaluation. A complete blood count revealed normal total counts with hemoglobin of 10.4, platelets 4.74 lakhs, and peripheral smear showing normocytic normochromic anemia with neutropenia. ESR and CRP were moderately elevated. MANTO was negative, and resting gastric juice, AFP smear, and gene expert was negative. Chest X-ray did not reveal any focus for pulmonary TB. However, we can see that there was significant reduction in the height of the D9 vertebral body, even in the chest X-ray. We went ahead with next line of investigations, being bone marrow aspiration and bone biopsy. Bone marrow aspiration revealed a reactive marrow with trilineage hematopoiesis. A transpedicular bone biopsy was done, and samples were sent for AFB smear and gene expert, which came back negative, and an AFP culture was also sent, and the samples were followed up, and it was also found to be negative. The histopathological examination of the biopsy specimen revealed a mixed inflammatory infiltrate, features consistent with chronic osteomyelitis. A second opinion was also obtained for the histopathological examination, which also showed features of chronic inflammation and occasional necrotic bone. At this point, we could not establish a definitive diagnosis for this 12-year-old girl. Hence, a relook into the history and investigations were carried out. There was significant absence of systemic symptoms and no established evidence of infection or malignancy, and multifocal bone lesions in the imaging with HPE suggestive of chronic inflammation and no evidence of granuloma. The possibility of CRMO, chronic recurrent multifocal osteomyelitis, was considered. Our child fulfilled the Janssen and the Bristol criteria. There was radiologically proven osteolytic bone lesion, multifocal lesions with a sterile bone biopsy, and also the minor criteria, including a normal blood count and a good general state of health, with CRP and ESR mild to moderately elevated. Coming to the Bristol criteria, she had typical clinical findings, typical radiological findings, and more than one bone involvement without significantly raised CRP. Since CRMO is associated with autoimmune conditions, and our case being an adolescent female girl, we proceeded with workup for other associated conditions. ANA turned out to be negative, and ophthalmological examination was normal. The child was started on oral naproxen and was put on a spinal brace, and she is currently doing well on follow up with reduction in pain, and she is able to carry out her daily activities without any restriction of movements. A short note about CRMO, also known as chronic non-bacterial osteomyelitis. It is a sterile inflammatory bone disease affecting primarily children. The exact etiology is unknown. Median age of onset of symptoms is at 10 years and is commonly presented as an insidious onset of bone pain. The metaphysis of the long bones of the lower extremities are the most common site involved, whereas other bones like pelvis, vertebra, clavicle, and long bones of the upper extremity and mandible can also be involved. Involvement of the skull is, however, rare. Associated conditions include psoriasis, palmoplantar pustulosis, inflammatory bowel disease, and spondyloarthropathies. ESR and CRP may be mildly elevated, and a plain radiograph shows osteolytic lesions or sclerosis. Whole body MRI is the diagnostic study of choice, and the biopsy will reveal presence of multiple infiltrates of neutrophils, monocytes, lymphocytes, and plasma cells during the early phase, and predominance of fibrosis and sparse cells during the later phases. This article on CRMO was published in Pediatric Rheumatology Journal in the year 2016, where children aged less than 18 years diagnosed with CRMO between Jan 2005 and December 2012 at Bristol Royal Children's Hospital were included and their clinical profile studied. Over a period of 8 years, 41 patients were diagnosed with CRMO. The median age of onset of symptoms was at 9 years, and median time to diagnosis was at 15 months. From this cohort data, when the Bristol criteria was applied retrospectively, 83% of children may have been diagnosed using the criteria without a need for biopsy. Coming to the treatment of CRMO, initial therapy is NSAIDs, and the second line treatment include corticosteroids, bisphosphonates, TNF inhibitors, and DMARDs. This article published in an international journal where the study was conducted in Germany in the year 2010. 37 children diagnosed with CNO were treated with naproxen continuously for the first 6 months. It was found that it was highly effective in general, causing a symptom-free status in 43% of patients after 6 months. The total number of clinically detectable lesions was significantly reduced. The quality of pain and life also improved significantly. A favorable clinical course in the first year of anti-inflammatory treatment was noted in children with CRMO. A retrospective study was conducted in a tertiary referral center in Germany over 2004 to 2015, where 56 patients with CNO were identified and NSAIDs were used as first-line treatment in 55 patients, inducing remission after 3 months in all individuals. However, the relapse rate was found to be 50% after 2 years. Coming to the summary, so the most common differential diagnosis for back pain and osteolytic lesions include osteomyelitis, tuberculosis, and malignancy. The possibility of CRMO should also be considered to avoid unnecessary prolonged course of treatment with antibiotics and multiple biopsies. When no microbiological confirmation of TB could be established, alternative diagnosis should be looked for. The presence of multifocal bone lesions and the absence of systemic symptoms should make us think of CRMO. Janssen and Bristol criteria help in establishing the diagnosis of CRMO. NSAIDs are found to be first line and highly effective treatment. However, relapses can occur. Thank you.